and she's just so tired.
She's exhausted.
So tired. So exhausted that they had
her social battery is so low.
Sup, nerds? It's basketball. Welcome to Horse, a basketball podcast about everything except for the wins and losses. My name is Mike Schubert, and I'm joined by my trusted co-host, the Jordan Robinson, having a fancy book/newsletter event to the Horse Boys attending said event, and Adam finally getting to meet Jordan in person. It's Adam Amwala. Adam, how's it going?
It's going well. Had you met her before in person?
I didn't remember until after, but I was texting Bobby Wagner, who is our mutual friend, because Jordan and Bobby both worked at The Ringer, and Bobby's been on our podcast before. And as I was sending that text message, I remembered that in very, very early days of Horse, I was in LA in February of 2020. So this was the pre-Adam era of Horse, and we recorded an episode with Bobby and Jordan while we were in LA. And I had completely forgotten about this. I think it's because we didn't take a selfie, and at no point in time did my phone ever be like, remember this fun thing you did? And it's been 6 years.
Yeah.
So I will have to message Jordan and say, we said so nice to meet. We were both wrong.
Hilarious. Also, sidebar, I rarely am on Facebook anymore, but Facebook does this thing where they remind you of stuff that no one would ever want to be reminded of. Not even negative things, but just incredibly mundane. I'll get a thing that's 13 years ago today, you ate a chicken sandwich. It's well, okay. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I posted about that in the first place. The internet was a different time back then, but I don't really care to commemorate that.
I think the thing is Facebook just goes exactly to the day, whereas my iPhone featured photos. It's here's photos in what was in the week range, and then you just have more stuff to choose from. And I feel there's probably, I hope it's just stats in terms of how many times have you sent this photo to someone else or favorited it, but they do seem to key in on, or maybe even it's just they pick photos of people's faces and not me screenshotting a QR code that I needed for an Amtrak train or something, so that I didn't have to go files, PDF, saved to this iPhone. I'm always just I'm just going to screenshot this so it's in recent photos.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Gosh.
This is a basketball podcast.
It is,
but shout out to Jordan. She had a thing announcing that she's got a new newsletter coming out. It's the WNBA 30 newsletter, something in that title area, to celebrate the 30th year of the W, and she's doing it with The Guardian, which is very cool. And we were fortunate enough to be on the fancy guest list at a fancy little launch party. And we talked to Jordan before, during, after. It was lovely. Yay,
well, as
Jordan,
you recall,
congrats.
when we interviewed her for our most recent episode, I suggested that the newsletter be called the Point Guardian or the Shooting Guardian.
Yes.
So
I don't remember that. I think that was off mic, though. I think we were done.
That could be.
Recording.
That could be. Yeah. Well, now it's on mic.
Now it's there. Adam made a very, very good joke. And now we'll make more of these as we consult each other and you all in the stream to discuss basketball. We've got a lot of stuff going on. There is a whole bunch in the WNBA because the draft happened. I'm delighted, given that I'm a Storm fan, and we had a very good draft. And there's all this NBA stuff going on too. Got the playoffs. Got the play-in last night. Those two games were both incredible.
Kobe
so
White,
let's talk about all that. But to get ready, we got to go to the Teal Memorial locker room. And the Teal Memorial locker room, also very fancy, just like the fancy place we were at last night.
Absolutely, yeah. Dress code, not enforced, but highly recommended.
And if you've got one of those fancy bathrobes, that's really where you want to hit it, where you're comfy, but you're styling.
I like it.
You know who else is comfy and styling?
I would say probably our patrons, some of whom are watching this right now in real time, but shout out to all of them, and most specifically to our producer level patrons.
Shout out to our producers, Polly Burge, Salvatore Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Reed. Steph Curry's season may or may not be over by the time you listen to this.
Bang. They play in the play-in game tonight as we record this on tax day, but also positive Jackie Robinson day. So depends on your perspective.
I'm going to start calling, is that always on the 15th? All right, I'm going to start calling it Jackie Robinson Day, and I'll feel a lot better about tax day. Chase Underulo, Naked Rachel, Sidney Crosby is a vampire, Chelsea's cousin, Ginger Spurs Boy, Balls to the Walls, Mott's Forley, Utah Jash, and Derry Bird. I do have to give shout outs to two of our producer level patrons I recently saw, hung out with, crashed with, and performed with Salvatore Testa while I was on tour in the Bay Area, and that was very fun. And then that tour brought me to Denver, where Lisa, aka Denver Steam Nuggets, was there and helped by running the merch table, refused the payment that I pay people to the merch table, instead wanted me to donate it to charity because she's the best, goodest egg. And on top of all of this, hand crocheted a little like messenger bag / fanny pack for my daughter that's in the shape of a pigeon. So it's a carrier pigeon.
Come on.
When Lisa told me that, I literally like dropped to my knees and went, Lisa!
That's incredible.
Really good. It's really good. So shout out to everybody. Shout out to the folks I saw. And you know who else we got to give a shout out to?
I would say our sponsor.
Shaker and Spoon, baby. If you want to celebrate something good, or maybe help ease the pain of something bad, like your team getting eliminated from the playoffs, or if you're a Golden State Valkyries fan and you had Flau'Bay for 5 minutes and then you traded her to my beloved Seattle Storm, you can go to shakerandspoon.com/horse and you can get $20 off a box. What comes in the box? It's all the stuff to make 4 servings of 3 different drinks. You just provide the booze and they provide everything else, and then you can make fancy drinks. You get to keep the recipe cards, you get to keep the knowledge, and it's a good time. So yeah, go to shakerandspoon.com/horse, get $20 off. Woo!
Boom.
Okie dokie. So if you are listening on Patreon, we're just going to keep things moving. If you're watching the stream, we're just going to keep things moving. But if you're listening to the podcast on the non-Patreon after the fact version, we're going to take a little break here for some locally inserted ads. But once they're complete, we'll get back into this episode of Horse.
If you love the drama and wild moments in basketball, playoff hockey is going to blow your mind. NHL on TNT has the best coverage, with every game feeling intense and unpredictable. The action is non-stop. No one is coasting. Every shift matters. The studio crew, like Paul Bissonnette cracking jokes and Wayne Gretzky breaking things down, makes it even more fun to watch. It's the perfect mix of sports and entertainment, just like the stories you hear on Horse. Watch the Stanley Cup playoffs on TNT, TBS, True TV, and HBO Max.
Adam, what do you got going on?
All right, so I have one small update, but I have a kind of condensed run of my final spring tour dates, and then I'm taking a break for a little bit. So I'm sure I'll be adding more stuff through the end of the year. But I have a bunch of shows coming up in the next few weeks. So I guess this will be the day of, if you're listening to this when it comes out. But tonight, April 21st, which is a Tuesday, I will be headlining Zany's Old Town in Chicago. There's still tickets available for that. The next one is going to be Mic Drop Chandler, which is in Arizona on Saturday the 25th.
Mic Drop Chandler sounds like I'm fighting a guy named Chandler and doing like a Randy Orton to him or something. Out of nowhere.
Could I be any more of that? Was Chandler Bing reference. It's the only Chandler.
Could my head
Chandler
be
Parsons,
any more locked?
Chandler Parsons would say, could I be any better of a volleyball player in my post NBA career life? Isn't that who that is?
That's Chase Budinger. Chandler Parsons is a talking head on FanDuel TV and talks about like, I fleeced a lot of teams out of money because I kept getting hurt and stuff.
Weird thing to be proud of. Also, shout out to Tyson Chandler.
He did. Oh, love Tyson Chandler. Gosh, legend Tyson Chandler.
Anyway, so I will be in Arizona on the 25th. This is the new one that's been added. I'm going to be headlining a show on a Monday, so we'll see how this goes. But at National Lampoon's Yellow Door, which is in San Diego. So that is on April 27th. And in a move that is shocking, most of all to me, the Cubs just happened to be playing the Padres that night, and I'm still choosing to do a comedy show over going to a game. I'm as shocked as you are, but you know, baseball reference during the plugs. Then on Tuesday, the 28th, I will be at the Elysian Vault in Los Angeles. Tickets are very low for that in a way that is surprising to me. So if you're in Los Angeles and you're listening to this, please buy a ticket. I make sure to keep them low, and I hope that the Tuesday of it all is not deterring people from coming out. And then the final show in that run is going to be at the City Winery Loft in Boston on Friday, May 1st. And then, like I said, there'll be a bit of a break after that. So that's what I have coming up. What about you?
I have some more things coming. Shout out to anyone who came to the shows that I did earlier this month, but also I've got 3 more coming later this month, and you can attend one no matter what. I saw Eileen in the chat wants you to come through to Atlanta.
Yes.
Can't make my TNO show on the 20th, which is my next show, but that show is live streamed, and the live stream comes with replay, so you can attend virtually at a different time, Eileen. So that's April 20th in Atlanta, April 21st in Charlotte, where Kelly will be the guest, and then April 22nd in Raleigh. You can get tickets to all those at thenewsolumbia.com. WNBA.com/live, and just announced I will be in Brooklyn, the part of New York I love to make fun of. I will be traveling to Brooklyn. Yes, traveling to Brooklyn for a show on August 15th. It's going to be at Littlefield, which is where Adam did his What Are You show, if you made your way out to that. But tickets to that are live for that one already on the Littlefield page. By the time you hear this episode, it'll be up on the newsolympian.com/live. But if you're watching the stream, I have not updated the website yet because I've been very busy. But those tickets are live. I'm very excited. I think I'm going to be doing some improv at the show as well. We did that a couple of stops on tour, and it was really fun. And I know enough improvisers in New York that I think I want to work that into the Brooklyn show.
By the way, I was at Littlefield on Monday night because our friend Gabe, who we've had on the show, Gabe Henry, he invited us out to a show. But I was laughing because the main performer was like a musical comedian, and she had an entire song about how people from Manhattan never want to go to Brooklyn. Like the entire point of the song was just like, you can just sit on a train. It is possible to get from one place to another.
It is. And I don't mind that. There's some of my friends in Brooklyn where it's like, cool, I just hop on the N and it takes a very long time and I don't mind it. But there's other friends in Brooklyn where it's like, what's the best option? 3 trains or like ferry to 30-minute walk?
Yeah.
Like,
I will also say, as someone
tough.
who spent a lot of time living in the neighborhood that you do, the mental hurdle of being like, I'm going to have to go into Manhattan to go out into Brooklyn
just feels
always
wrong.
frustrating.
Just feels wrong.
Yeah.
I love the N and the W. It's a good squiggly line that touches a lot of parts in the city. So if I can't walk from any of those stops to your place, like that, just when it wants me to do 3 different trains, it's wild. But
Yes.
it's interesting. I more am frustrated. The record shows on Horse that my favorite game of how long does it take to get from Brooklyn to other Brooklyn? That's what always astonishes me the most. Like, it's not easy to get from Barclays to Greenpoint. Like, that's beyond me.
I have many times in my life gone from the N to the 7 to the G to the L, and it's an absurd sequence of events.
Yeah. The N to the 7 is fine because it's like right across. The G, it's like, all right, I got to go down a staircase or 2. Not the worst thing in the world. You add the L on top of it. Anytime I got to touch the L, goodbye. I despise that train. It's not fun. It's always crammed. And okay, anyway, there's too much inside basketball. Let's talk about outside basketball. So do we have an NBQ&A?
We do, yes. We have an NBQ&A from our good friend Ginger Spursboy, who asks, I'm always hearing about NBA first team and NBA second team. What exactly is that? Is it basically just like a glorified fantasy lineup? Kind of. I don't know if I would describe it that way, but essentially the idea is that the NBA first team and the NBA second team represent the best players from that year. So I guess it's not a direct one-to-one with fantasy, because in fantasy, like, you need to fill different stat categories. This is just like, who are the best people in the league, not necessarily who would comprise the best team in real life or in fantasy, but that's essentially it, right? And then who determines that? That's the one thing I was going to ask you, is like,
I think just media vote, just media vote, just like MVP, Rookie of the Year, that kind of stuff. But they recently changed it, and recently, maybe it's been like almost 8 years or so now, where it used to be positions. So it used to be like there were guards, forwards, and centers. So each team would have 2 guards, 2 forwards, and 1 center. But then what started happening, I think what really sparked this, was Jokic and Embiid were both, when they were really fighting for MVP status, before Embiid kind of had worse and worse injury stuff, one of them would end up on the second team. And it was just like, these 2 guys are the best 2 guys in the league. It's silly to have this structure where, in theory, one of them is now considered the 6th best player at best. So they have now made it positionless. So in theory, you could have just 5 guards. I think that's very smart. Because what if the 5 best people all play the same position? And you had things where, like, DeAndre Jordan was making 3rd team All NBA because it was just like at a time when centers weren't really valued in the big, like, pace and space era. And a lot of small ball was going on during the Warriors era. And it was just like, we have to pick a center. And it was a bad look. So yeah, it's really just the end of the year. There's the first team, the second team, and the third team. Now they have made the changes to where, and again, this is another Embiid related thing, where you have to play 65 games in the season to qualify for one of these teams. That has had, I think this is the second year that they've done it. And this is the first year that it's like really become a problem, because there's a lot of people who have played like low 60s games that can't make it. Luka Doncic has to see if his arbitration case, he's like doing arbitration with the league to see if he can get an exemption for having a child and missing 2 games to be at the birth back in Slovenia.
How dare he?
How dare he? And then there's a bunch of players who like either just barely made it or just missed it. There's players who are like really, really good and then just missed some games. Like I think Cade Cunningham won't qualify because he played like 63 games. It's very silly. And I think Zach Lowe has the best approach if you want to like find the middle ground, where he says you can keep the 65 game rule for the first 2 teams, but third team All-NBA, just let it be whoever. Like if someone plays 58 unbelievable games, like, yeah, maybe they don't deserve first or second team, but like, let me put it on the third team. Let that kind of be the more fast and loose kind of thing. And that, if that happens to be the like injury people team who played really well, like, so be it. But
if
this
I were
season
in
has proven
charge,
the 65 game is not
what
an ideal rule.
What I would do is, you have to have played at least half the season, so more than half the season. And then anything beyond that, you almost get like added points for how much you played. Meaning if you're between, 73 and 82 games, which is like you played almost all the games, it would almost be like an extra bump up in your favor. And that could be added to the whatever the scoring rubric is for how people are deemed valuable.
The thing I think they could also do is don't make it based on games played, make it based on minutes played. Because there's this weird thing where Victor Wembanyama played exactly 65 games, but because he had some injuries and they had him on minutes restriction throughout the year, LeBron played more minutes than Victor, but LeBron only played like 59 games. So he can't qualify for the end of season awards, but Victor can. So I think they should switch to a minutes thing. And if they, maybe they do something where it's like, if they don't want to do a set number, it could be something where it's like, what's the average number of games people played, or like the average, like you could find something. But I think minutes is a way to kind of hit it to where if you are a really important player, that gives you more of the leeway, right? Like, and especially if this is kind of like an extension of the MVP talks of most valuable, if you played 58 games, but you played 39 minutes a game, like, yes, you are more valuable to your team than someone who played 82 games, but only played 18 minutes a game. Right. So,
yeah. And to final button on this and great question. So thank you, Ginger Spurs Boy, for it. The reason that it's a good thing that they changed it to it's just the best 5 players rather than like one from each position is that for the vast majority of players, they have kickers in their contracts where it's like, if you're all NBA first team or second team, et cetera, you get an extra X amount of money. So like for someone like a Jokic or Embiid to be like, I'm clearly one of the 5 best players, but I've been deemed second team because there's only one spot for a center. Like that's important as well. Also, speaking of Embiid, I believe he's out for a while after an appendectomy. Is that correct?
Yes, appendicitis.
I saw a great, it's not funny. Obviously that sucks, but I saw a very funny tweet that was like the Pitt, but it's just the Sixers team doctor.
I mean, yeah, it's there. So yes, good question. And I think ultimately all NBA teams are more legitimate in terms of judging someone's success than All-Star, because All-Star happens halfway through the season and factors in popularity.
Right.
All NBA is just how good were you at the end of the year. So I think that those, when people have like legacy discussions about players' career, All NBA is usually like the thing that's really like, oh wow. But it's, I think, also a way to tell that someone really knows their stuff. So if you want to sound important and knowledgeable, reference All NBA, because that's like the real stuff that matters. That's where you can be like, ooh, third team All NBA selection in 2015. You'll sound fancy. Alrighty, should we get into full court press? Get it like the news?
I do, and let's do it. We've got a lot of news to cover. We're going to focus more on women's basketball in full court press because our main segment today is going to be very NBA heavy as we kind of break down the NBA playoff matchups and the drama that could be afoot within those matchups. But where to begin? What do you think? I guess Angel Reese. Angel Reese being traded from the Sky to the Dream is a huge piece of news over the past couple weeks. Very shocking, the sort of thing that I think everybody collectively was like, whoa, that's a franchise player being traded away. And we have seen already, and Jordan actually talked about this last night, the financial impact that it's had on the Dream immediately was profound, like selling out jerseys, ticket prices going way up, having to even, I think, move the venue that they're playing in. So what were your thoughts on that trade?
I was surprised that it happened, but like ultimately not, oh my gosh, what, like it's not a Luka trade thing, because there were these rumblings and stuff that the front office of the Chicago Sky did not get along with Angel Reese. And Angel was displeased with the fact that the Sky don't have their own facilities. There was another player, I forget who played for the Sky and was like, I had to share my locker with like the public, like, because it's just like, they don't have their own dedicated thing. So they just use, I'm assuming it's like an Equinox or like a nice gym, but it's just like still not a private locker. So you have to like clear your locker out at the end of every game. It's very silly. You would possibly know this as a Chicago sports fan. Are the Reinsdorfs also owners of the Sky, or do they have different owners?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay.
I know they
just also suck at spending money on their basketball teams.
They play at an arena called Wintrust Arena, which is like a smaller facility. So they don't play at the United Center.
Okay.
I don't think that they own. Maybe Jamie.
It says Michael Alter is the principal owner of the Sky, independent of the NBA counterpart.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the move is not entirely shocking because it was fairly public that Angel Reese and the organization were not getting along that well. There were also rumblings that like a lot of her Sky teammates weren't a big fan of hers at various times, but more so that she kind of came out and publicly said like, hey, if they're not going to do X, Y, and Z, or they're not going to put better players around me, like, I guess maybe I should have a different home. So like she wasn't mincing words about it necessarily, but she was traded, and I believe it's for first round picks the next 2 years. Is that correct?
I think so. It's only 2 first-round picks, which is wild to me. And it's 2 first-round picks. They traded it to the Atlanta Dream, who are good and will be good. So those picks aren't like going to be really high. So it really seems like let's just get her out and try to get some value. But it feels like they could have gotten more. I don't know. Feels like a big undersell. It's a huge move for Atlanta. I think that's awesome for them.
Yeah,
and
also just a quick statement on the Angel Reese hate, because I feel like that's been the thing since she got in the league. Her offensive game is ugly and it does need to improve. But in case anyone's wondering, her offensive rebound numbers are not because she misses a lot. It's a factor, but I read and I'm pretty sure this is true. If you removed all of the offensive rebounds off of her own misses, she would still have led the league in offensive rebounds by a fairly wide margin. So like the narrative of like, oh, she just like misses 4 times and gets 4 rebounds, and so that's why her stats are inflated. Not true. I agree that watching her on offense can be painful sometimes, but like she's a very good player.
Yeah, she's really good. And she puts butts in seats. So that trade happened, of course, soon after we recorded. And in between that, there was free agency. Yep. So some big moves. Satu Sabali is now on the Liberty, which makes them even more an embarrassment of riches. They have a lot of really good players now. They've got like a real solid big 4.
Yeah.
And then you had my beloved Seattle Storm basically letting all of the veterans go to other teams. Skylar Diggins is now on the Sky, which name-wise just is a really good fit. And then Nneka Ogwumike returned to the Sparks, I believe, even though there was the whole like Nneka Balloon Arch Minnesota thing that was very interesting. So I guess that was maybe like when they were courting her, if she was visiting.
Kelsey Plum also
last episode
re-signed with the Sparks for less than she could have gotten, so as to give them more financial flexibility, which is really cool.
Yeah, much like we talked about in the last episode with a flower company giving away a WNBA relationship, there was a balloon arch company that posted this thing at the Lynx facility saying, welcome Nneka. So it seems like the Lynx were trying to bring in Nneka Ogwumike, but I'm pretty sure she ended up on the Sparks. So I guess that wasn't like a, hello, we've got you, but maybe like a, hello, come on in thing.
The balloons weren't good enough.
Needed better balloons. So now, and then there were like some other trades, like the Sparks made a couple more like win now moves, like they traded Rakea for someone more established who that happened before the NECA signing, so it was like weird. Then the NECA signing, it's like, oh, they're trying to win now. So there were some big free agency things. Gabby Williams signed with the Valkyrie, which is a huge pickup for them. Gabby's very good. I'm going to miss her very dearly. She's going to bring a lot that the Valkyrie could use, some good wing presence on offense and defense. But then the draft happened. And there were shakeups all around. So the first pick was AZ Fudd, which there was no like consensus first pick, but there were definitely rumblings, as we talked about, that she would be the pick fit-wise, basketball and off-court with Paige. It just feels like that was something they couldn't pass
right.
up.
It's more like you don't want to piss off your star player, and I have to assume that Paige Beckers would not have been happy if the Wings went a different direction with that number 1 pick. So even if maybe in a vacuum she's not the most perfect fit, I think it's like if you think she's the best player in the draft, you take her and you figure it out.
Yeah. The thing is, basically everybody who was considered in the top 5, there was something you could say bad about all of them. So there's no like, oh my gosh, they blew it. AZ probably had the best like overall college career, but had some injury history. And then Olivia Miles went second, which was a surprise. Most boards had her going third, but the Lynx, I guess, wanted to have a really good guard. She's a point guard to pair with Nafisa, who's a big. So
did they reconfigure the balloons to welcome her?
Yeah, it looks like a Captcha. So she went second, which then allowed my beloved Seattle Storm to pick Awa Pham, number 3, which many boards had her as potentially going number 1. I think the general consensus with her is that she has the highest upside. She's only 19 years old. She's from Spain. She's played well internationally. She's 6'4", which in WNBA standards is very tall. And she can move quickly. She's not like some plotting center. She will pair well with our other very large player, Dominique Malonga. So that was awesome. I was so overjoyed that she fell to third. And I'm so glad that the Storm just picked her best player available, because I think Olivia Miles would have made more sense because we don't have a lot of guards, especially now that Skylar is out the door. But oh man, if you told me before the draft that we were going to get Awa Pham, I would have been like, why didn't one of the first 2 teams take her? So really, really cool. And then Lauren Betts went 4th, and like everything else kind of seemed to go chalk. There was a whole who's the better big player to draft, Awa or Lauren. But then the bigger shakeup is that Flau'Bay Johnson went 8th, which felt like a little low. There were some people thinking she might go into the top 5, but you know, maybe Portland takes her, maybe Toronto takes her, like as one of those two is like, let's make her our kind of franchise thing, but they did not. So she fell to 8. The Valkyries took her, and then everyone was very excited. Flau'Bay was excited to be in the Bay Area. She has a very successful rap career. Have you listened to her song with Lil Wayne? It's really good. I didn't know about it until they were talking about it in the draft. I didn't know she made music. And she's got a really good song and music video with Lil Wayne.
That's very cool.
So she was excited to be in the Bay, make some music.
What's it called? Eileen asks, and also I ask.
I believe it's called Born a Beast.
Cool.
And it's about like, I came out my mama a beast.
Can we get her and Dame Lillard on a song together? That would be really cool.
Oh,
like the best
the Portland
rapper
Fire should have drafted her.
Yeah,
they
true.
missed it. So yeah, there's all these things like her name's Flau'Bay. She's going to be in the Bay. Flau'Bay, it's right there. Everyone's very excited. Her family's excited. They're all wearing the hats. And then a little time goes by later, and after the Storm make their draft pick at number 16, because we had number 3, 14, 16, and I think 31, there was an announcement that we were actually trading the player that we took at 16 with Flau'Bay. We took Marta Suarez from Spain, and then we were also trading a second-round pick for 2028. So, you know, second-round picks are fine in the WNBA, but not, like, crucial. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't seem like it seemed pretty lopsided.
Yeah.
Even if you just said like 8 pick for 16 plus a future second rounder, it's like, I don't know, that's 8 spots. That's a lot in the WNBA draft. But specifically for Flau'Bay, who like had a lot of hype pre-draft, I don't know, like the Valkyrie were getting absolutely dragged for this. And the problem further was that their GM had the press conference after and just gave really weird answers.
Well, she was tired.
Yeah, she said she was tired, so she wanted to like gather her thoughts before answering. And then people rightfully dragged her because it was like 5 p.m. Pacific time where her team is based. So like it's working hours. Come on. And then she was saying like, oh, we don't want to talk strategy because other teams are listening. We'll talk about this later. Like, we don't want to give the full, machinations of why we did this. Then like talking a weird thing about like fit. And I was like, Flau'Bay would have been a perfect fit on your team. What are you talking about? It wasn't until the next day that the GM was like, oh yeah, this was all like predetermined. So clearly there was some sort of discussion beforehand. What it seems like ultimately is that the Valkyrie, who've done lots of international scouting, viewed Marta Suarez as higher than any other team did, or at least a lot higher than where she went at 16. So they were probably talking to some teams that might have wanted the 8 pick and probably had some sort of deal in place like, hey, if Marta is still on the board and you take her with one of these lower picks, we'll trade you our pick for future. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, I guess no one else really was interested in this because the fact that the Storm didn't have to give up a first round pick is good. Like, we had 14 and 16. I'm surprised we didn't, trade them one of those two in addition. Right. It just feels like we would have had to give up 14 and 16 to go up to 8. So stoked about it. So I think Marta Suarez is still a good player, but I think that there was lots of hype for Flau'Bay. I think probably boosted by the off-court stuff is really fun. She's cool. She was on that LSU squad. She's got the music video. She's a fun personality. Big Four. Like, a lot of cool stuff going on. People were stoked. Now I'm stoked because from a basketball fit and a fun fit, this is cool. So the Storm went like full rebuild and things are sad, but now we had like a really good draft. And very importantly, Jade Melbourne is back on the Seattle Storm. I'm so excited because the perfect timing, I did a tour in Australia and New Zealand, and I was talking to 2 lovely listeners who came through. They're from Canberra, but they came up to the Sydney show because it's the closest city, and they got me the shirt that I think we talked about on an episode of Horse, how Jade Melbourne plays on the Canberra team when it's the WNBA offseason, the Canberra Capitals. So they made these Jade Melbourne Canberra shirts, and not only did I get gifted this shirt, but they got it signed.
What?
Signed by Jade Melbourne. They talked to her after a game, I believe mentioned that Horse exists. They explained the whole thing about why
there's a chance.
The next day I hopped in.
We need to just DM more players.
I've DM'd Jade multiple times. Okay. Hasn't come through.
All right.
So it's to the point now where it's like, okay, I need to consider looking up Jade Melbourne's PR team. Sure. I think I got to look into all of that. But huge shout out to Claire and Emily who facilitated that. We did effectively a jersey swap. I sent them a TNO shirt and a bunch of stickers.
Amazing.
And they sent me a signed Jade Melbourne shirt
very,
and
very
a
cool.
Greater and Western Sydney Giants AFL musical pen. Perfect exchange. We got to get Jade on the pod, especially now that she's back on the Storm.
Absolutely. Rachel is asking if you have any thoughts on the expansion draft, which of course also happened shortly after we recorded with Jordan.
How could we forget?
Yeah. What did you think about how that went?
I think what was interesting is that both teams seemed to very much look at the future. There was not the situation like with the Valkyrie where they were like, let's just start winning. The Valkyrie, they were like, let's get all these international players that people may not have heard of, and then we're going to just be good right away. And that was fun.
Yeah.
The flip is that for this expansion draft, it really felt like the teams were going very, very future forward looking.
Well, yeah, because didn't someone draft Nika Mule and she's going to be out for the whole season?
Exactly. Nika Mule was someone who has a lot of upside, but not so much upside. Even before she got hurt, there was a little I hope Nika makes the team kind of vibe. But certainly does have upside, but she's had terrible luck where she's had back-to-back ACL tear years. It's like Klay Thompson all over again.
Yeah.
The first pick was Bridget Carlton. The Portland Fire took Bridget, and she's very good. That's a normal sort of expansion draft pick where it's she's very good, but the Lynx have 5 other people that they wanted to. She's probably the Lynx's 6th best player, or at least 6th best in terms of holding on to when you factor in upside and stuff like that. So that was a very normal pick. But then a lot of the other picks were people that I didn't know of. So Toronto picked Julie Allemond, who's a Belgian player, was not familiar. Oh no. Okay, sorry. I'm not familiar. She was selected by the Fever. I'm trying to look. Oh, she's been in the league for 2 years. I apologize. I have not heard of Julie. But then Portland, because it's a snake draft, they went back to back. They also took someone from the Valkyrie. They took a French player named Carla Liti, so upside there. But it's just like a lot of young players. Like if you look at the years experience for the players picked, aside from Bridget, who had 6 years, and then the big Toronto pick that I was surprised she was the number 6 pick, Marina Mabry, who is not protected by the Sun, I guess because the Sun are going away, so they don't care. They were like, yeah, we don't want to pay her expensive contract. So they took Marina, which is like a huge get. I thought she would have been like 2nd, but she was 6th. Aside from that, if you look at the years played by all of the people selected, it was 2-1-2-1-3-1-3-1-1. And then it continued on 0-2-2, 0-1-1, 3-3-1, and then 4-2. So just like a lot of young, unproven people. It feels like, and maybe this is because there's 2 new teams or they're trying to bide their time and there's other new teams coming in. It feels like these teams were like chill with kind of tanking, or at least very much being patient and not feeling like we got to be good right away. They were both thinking, let's just look at the future immediately, which is interesting. That is not what it appeared that Jordan was expecting. Jordan was talking about how there's all these people that they could have picked, maybe draft negotiation wise, because it would have been this whole thing of they could have drafted them and then they could have said no. Maybe they were afraid people didn't want to go to these new teams. They wanted to be on contenders. I'm not sure. But a lot more youth than I was anticipating.
Rachel adds that her last name rhymes with late, so Valkyries fans called her the Late Show last year, which is pretty good.
That's good.
That's
really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely more future-facing moves, which feels like they're trying to set themselves up for future. I guess here's the other factor, and Jordan talked about this at her event last night. I think the next 2 WNBA drafts are really good. I think 2027 and 2028 are supposed to be really good. You've got Juju Watkins, I think, next year.
Yeah.
And then is her name Sarah Smart?
From UConn?
Yeah. Like I think
I know it's an
2028.
Yeah, two S initials, and I'm blanking on the
I'm again not a big college guy. Sarah Strong, not Sarah Smart. That's funny. And Strong, not smart.
Yeah,
the other
actually,
adjective.
I sent you last night. There was this photo on Instagram that was like, this photo might have 6 number 1 picks in it. So it's a photo of Paige Beckers on the left, Sarah Strong in the middle, and AZ Fudd on the right. And then directly behind them are Sue Bird, Diana Taurasi, and Maya Moore. So just kind of goes to show the pedigree of of that college.
Yeah. So yes, with these people coming in the future drafts, maybe that's another reason why they're trying to tank, get like a really, really good player, which I get it. You don't get the top 4 pick the first time in, you get 5 and 6. So maybe they're just really trying to say, especially because the WNBA does the 2-year thing. So even if they just have like one very bad year their first year, even if they're good the next year, could be so bad that the average still puts them in contention for that 2028 draft class that's supposed to be good. So
yeah,
feels like that's kind of where they're angling, which I think is smart. And as long as you are okay and hope that your fan base will be patient, which Toronto, I get it. You're the only Canadian team now. Go for it. Portland, that feels a little riskier, especially with the Storm being so close and so storied. So I don't know. Yeah. But that's where we're at. Oh, nice. Beautiful, beautiful.
All right. 2 quick things before we move on to the main chunk of this episode. I guess let's stay on the UConn of it all. There was an incident between head coach Geno Auriemma, the legendary head coach of the UConn women's basketball team, and Dawn Staley, who is the coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks. They faced off in the semifinal of the Final Four. The Gamecocks kind of beat the shit out of UConn, only to then get their own teeth kicked in the final game. But there was a very heated exchange between the two of them at the end of the game, which I'll find the video and share the lip reading of it. It was pretty interesting. But essentially what it really all boiled down to was, I guess historically, coaches like meet up before the game, shake hands, have a little exchange. Evidently, Geno was at half court waiting for Dawn Staley, and in his view, she like took too long to get there. I think really what it was he was pissed off that his team just got their asses kicked and was taking it out on somebody unfairly. But there's been a lot of like negative coverage around this. First of all, I think he came off looking really bad. Also, the optics of being like an older white man literally speaking down to a younger black woman, not ideal. But the positive spin on this is that he was pretty contrite in his apology, both immediately and then after the fact, not only publicly, but also to Dawn and spoke with her directly. She then released a statement saying like, listen, like Geno and I spoke, he's done a huge amount of positive work in the women's basketball community. Like we wouldn't all be here without him. Like we hashed it out. Nobody else needs to litigate this for us. We're adults. Like we talked about it. We're both moving forward. Like, let's not dwell on this. So credit to both of them. And particularly, I would say to Geno for being accountable and apologizing, and also more so to Dawn Staley for accepting the apology. And I agree with the boo Geno boo in the chat, but I think it was a bad look for him, and whether it was, I hope it was sincere, but either way, I think he realized pretty quickly, like I made an ass of myself, and that was not cool. So I am glad that seemingly they were able to put it behind them. To me, it kind of changes how I look at Geno Auriemma a little bit, because it was just it was an ugly moment, but credit to both of them for moving past that. Final thing before we move on. Have you seen all the discourse around the viral Pacers couple?
The viral Pacers couple. Oh, I saw that. Yeah. I didn't see exactly what happened. I just saw that like Shaq offered to buy the engagement ring or something.
Right. So there was a moment during a recent Pacers game where, for whatever reason, they like kind of zoomed in on this couple, and even for people who aren't good at lip reading, it was like pretty clear to see what was happening. So the guy's talking to his girlfriend, and she's listening, and she's like giving this kind of confused look, and then you can see her at one point say, "That's you. That's you. What the fuck are you talking about?" And then he has this very funny facial expression where he's like, "Yeah, what the fuck am I talking about?" So it went viral, and they later explained it was such an obscure and random conversation. She was like, "We were talking about liberal arts education." Like it was a completely unrelated to basketball conversation. But then it kind of took on this second life on the internet. They ended up being interviewed by the Inside the NBA guys. And then at one point, Shaq was like, "All right, if you propose right now during this interview, I'll pay for the engagement ring." And it was a whole thing. And then people made that out to be like that was inappropriate of Shaq to do that. But it was just like a fun moment. So we'll share the video from that. And apparently the best place to discuss the values of a liberal arts education during Pacers game in a season that they've lost 60 plus games.
Look, they're so bad. What else are you going to talk about? I will give a shout to Jamie in the chat who said it took Geno 2 attempts to properly apologize. Not a good look. That was the only thing I did hear, was because I follow Sue Bird on social media. Sue like had something where she was saying like, "Oh, I'm sure Geno didn't mean," like kind of defending Geno, but still admitting what he did was bad. And then people in the comments were like, "He didn't apologize. He just released a statement, and he didn't address Dawn directly. He just said like apologies to her staff." So I'm glad that you gave the context that he did like talk to her directly and Dawn said stuff, because the only thing I did hear about it was that he was rude and then did a bad quote unquote not really apology, but it seems like he got it eventually.
Right. Yeah. And it's one of those things where like he was out of line regardless, but if you do have a problem with somebody, text her after the game. You know what I mean? Like you don't need to air that out.
Don't make a whole show of it
camera.
On nationally televised broadcasts. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
But that's
we
what we
now
got.
Get into what we're going to do to conclude it. We're going to do our That Actually Happened, the playoffs.
Right. What we're going to do is break down the NBA playoff / play-in matchups. As we're recording this, a couple of the play-in games have already happened. Some are coming up. If I'm being honest, I think most of our predictions are going to be the 1 and 2 seeds are going to beat whoever comes out of those games. But what we're going to do is we'll give you a quick prediction for each of the matchups in terms of like what we think is going to happen on the court. But mostly we're going to be focusing on what is the potential drama that could come from these matchups, because that is, of course, our specialty. So I guess let's start with what happened last night as we record this on Wednesday, the 15th. 2 fantastic games, and there are a lot of issues that need to be resolved in the NBA, but props where they are deserved. The play-in has been a roaring success. It's been
really
great.
Fun.
Yeah.
2 games that came down to last-second shots. 1 went to overtime. I am disappointed that the Hornets won. I think before the game, I wanted them to win because they were having a better end to the year, and they would have been a fun like shake-up of maybe winning in the first round.
Right.
Even if they were a 7 or an 8 seed. or I guess they could only be the 8 seed based on their position. But like that could have been a fun matchup. Then LaMelo Ball grabs Bam's ankle as he's already falling down, and he falls really hard on his tailbone, and he's out for the rest of the game. The Heat only end up losing by like 1 point or whatever.
Absolutely would have won with Bam.
Absolutely would have won the game with Bam. 83 points out of Bio on their team. So that sucked. And it was the whole thing where because of the type of play that it happened on, they couldn't review it because there was no whistle, and then possession changed. And someone I saw on Reddit made a really good point, like, wait a second. So we can retroactively go back in time, even if nothing stops. And if someone shoots a 3-pointer and their foot's on the line and we call it a 3, and then we look back at the tape and it's a 2, we change the score. But some guy does what certainly would have been called a flagrant 2 and would have gotten ejected, and we can't do anything, not even at halftime. Like, oh, hey, by the way, we looked at the videotape. Like, if there was a dead ball immediately after that, LaMelo Ball would have been 1,000% ejected. So like extra.
What
Bam's
was he doing?
Not out of the
thinking?
game. He's done it before to Bam, which was weird. There was like another time where it was like he got tangled up under the basket and like stuck out his leg and then grabbed a hand to like stop Bam from going down. It's one of those things like, I think what he was probably doing was just trying to trip the guy. I don't think he was trying to like, I'm going to take him out. Like it wasn't so dirty that he's going to hurt.
No, that's still dangerous.
Him. Exactly. That's the thing. Like anytime someone who's 7 feet tall trips, that could be a game-ending injury. Like,
what did LaMelo think he was driving his car?
It's just tough. So I personally hope that the NBA tries to do as best as they can by this and suspends LaMelo for the next game. I think he should like it. I think it should be a retroactive flagrant 2. Like it's a really egregious,
because
really
then what
play.
You're doing is effectively punishing the Hornets the same way that the Heat were punished for losing Bam. Like if they have to play this upcoming game, the second play-in game without LaMelo, obviously they would be at a huge disadvantage against either the Raptors or the Sixers, whoever wins that one. So I would be all for that. I will say I was very happy for my old Bulls favorite Kobe White hitting a huge
that shot he made was nuts.
That's an incredibly difficult shot. A guy who's not that big hitting a fadeaway 3 from the corner to tie it. The funny thing was
doing a very cool jumping celebration that the slow-mo
awesome.
Camera showed. His hair looked very fun in slow-mo.
I went to watch the highlights and I went to YouTube and was just like, Heat Hornets. And I clicked on something and I'm watching it and I'm kind of like, I just wanted to watch the fourth quarter. And I get to the fourth quarter and the Hornets are up by like 24. And I'm like, how did they blow this lead only to then tie it in the end? And then a minute or two later, I was like, this is not that game. It was a game from like March where I guess they won by a lot.
That's very funny.
I don't know why that was the top search result, but yeah, for a second I was like, wow, they really blew this one and then turned it around. So but even, the end of the game was amazing. The Hornets were up by 5. Then the Heat, I think, hit a 3. They get a steal. Hero retreats a 3-point line, very Reggie Miller-esque, gets fouled, hits all 3 free throws. Then the Hornets come down. LaMelo hits a layup. Heat don't have any timeouts.
Then there's technical difficulties for 40 seconds on Amazon Prime.
I guess I didn't see that part because I was watching after the fact, but
it was bad. It was like a very
game.
Crucial. It was like you missed from I think like a minute 20 left on the game clock to like 36 seconds, which like in overtime is
cannot happen.
Crucial. And they were getting dragged. I thought it was like just me, and then I looked on the internet and it was like a universal thing. Just like Oofa, Doofa.
So now
Doofa.
the Heat season is over. The Hornets move on to play the
Heat fans are okay with. Like they're obviously mad about it, but all of them are secretly like good because now they're in the lottery, so they have like a whatever % chance of getting the number 1 pick, and they're like, bro, we'll take it because this draft is so good.
Correct.
That they are delighted. So
and
a lot of people are like, oh no, are you sure?
Yeah, perfect transition. The Bulls actually got very lucky last night, a statement which I have not been able to say in many years. The Portland Trailblazers ended up beating the Phoenix Suns, which was another incredible game. They were down by a lot and came back in the final minutes.
Huge runs.
But by virtue of the Blazers making the playoffs, that triggers the Bulls getting another first-round pick from the Blazers. So worked out very well. But yeah, that was Jeremy Grant was unbelievable last night.
He woke up. He's been on this bad team for years. So he was like, oh, we're in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Let me be Jeremy Grant again.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But a really, really terrific game down the stretch. So that was the 7-8 seed. So the Blazers are now officially in. As the 7 seed, the Suns will have to play the winner of, what is it, Warriors and who's the other? The 9
Warriors
seed?
and Clippers in the Sad-perbowl, as I am calling it. I trust the Suns to beat whoever comes out of that matchup, which like Clippers-Warriors would have been tight 10 years ago. Right. But this year it's just a sad game. But maybe Steph goes nuclear. Like I'll still watch because there's always the chance of playoff Steph just willing it. And that would be a huge kind of like legacy ad for him. If this Warriors team beats the Clippers behind his effort, it could be fun.
So let's I'm just going to go kind of series by series. Let's talk about the drama a little bit. So we know that the reigning champion Thunder are the 1 seed. They are going to be playing the 8 seed. So that will either be the Suns or it'll be the Clippers or the Warriors. First of all, who do you see coming out of those 3 teams? Obviously, this will have already happened by the time most of you are listening, but do any of those 3 teams have any chance whatsoever against the Thunder?
Absolutely not. Agreed. I would pick the Clippers over the Warriors just because of all the injuries to the Warriors, but Steph is Steph, but then Kawhi is Kawhi.
Right. What would be the best matchup for drama purposes? Thunder versus who?
I'd say can't go wrong with Dylan Brooks in a playoff scenario. So that would be fun just from who knows what Dylan Brooks does. But then on the flip side, the Clippers, just because like if Kawhi just goes super Kawhi, and if the investigation drops during the playoffs, which it won't, that could be spicy. So I think probably from drama, the Suns have more drama just because of Dylan Brooks's existence. And then for basketball, I think the Clippers actually would have a better chance of beating the Thunder just because like if everything clicks, I think they're better. The Suns are a little more consistent, but I think if you're trying to upset the 1 seed, you just need like 4 amazing games. So if Kawhi just has 4 unreal games.
Yeah, I think regardless of the matchup, I can't see that series going longer than 5 games.
I can't either, so we can move it on.
Yeah. So the next matchup would be Spurs versus the Trailblazers, who won last night to secure the 7 seed. I don't really see the Blazers having much of a shot. Obviously, the Spurs are a younger team, so they don't have a lot of playoff experience. But to me, I've got like probably Spurs in 5 or 6. In terms of drama, not a whole lot's coming to mind. Is there anything you can think of that's like rivalry based?
The only thing I can think of is that you have Drew Holiday on the Blazers, who's a very good defender, and he's got a lot of knowledge because he's been in the league for years and years. If he figures out a way to kind of lock down some of the younger guards that the Spurs have, that could be drama of like, Stephon Castle doesn't look so good. All their young players are falling short on the guard perspective. The only other thing I can think of is that Denny Avdia on the Blazers, who's playing quite well this year, and my whole thing of saying we should draft him over Obi Toppin is aging like fine wine.
I think actually the Bulls drafted him and then traded him.
Oh no!
Of course they did.
I think if he does what he's been doing this season, which is getting fouled a lot, if he finds a way to get Victor Wembanyama in foul trouble and they lose a game because he just can't get on the court because he's in foul trouble, that's like something that could turn into drama. So I think if the Blazers shock him and lock him down, because they're a very good defensive team. So if they just like find a way to stifle the offense, whether it's through foul trouble or actual defense, that could create some drama. But I just think the Spurs are too good. They're too deep.
Our next matchup is the 3 versus the 6. That is the 3rd seeded Nuggets versus the 6th seeded Timberwolves. So this is a rematch.
Very fun.
Wasn't this a conference finals matchup a few years ago?
They've played each other a couple times over the years, so
this one's going to be really
very
good.
Excited for this one. It's going to be really good.
I think the Nuggets having the home seed in my like that's of all the matchups in the first round on the West, that's the one where I'm like 7 games.
Yes, I think so. I hope so. The Timberwolves kind of did the thing where they like took their foot off the gas during the regular season and kind of did the wake me up in the playoffs move. Well, now it's the playoffs, and you're playing the Nuggets. So wake up.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a good series,
It's going to be a lot of
really
fun.
I would pick the Nuggets to win in 6 or 7, just because the Nuggets have ended the year really strong. Jokic seems to have bounced back from his injury. Jamal Murray is shooting the lights out of the ball, or I guess the lights out of the arena with the ball. But they're looking good. So I think the Nuggets will win, but I think it's going to be the best Western Conference first round series for sure.
Yeah. Eileen just hit us with a 6-7 in the chat. And you know what? We don't want to ban you from the chat, but we'll consider it. We'll consider it. Let this be your warning.
Kids will call you cringe now. It's not cool anymore. Don't be washed.
Now, oh my gosh. Now, the 4-5 matchup could have been so great, and now it is not anymore. It's really a bummer.
Now it's the Sadness Bowl.
Yeah, so it's the Lakers versus the Rockets. There is drama in both camps. For the Lakers, it's really more injury-based. They are without Luka. They are without Austin Reeves. So it's essentially LeBron and company versus the Rockets. I don't know about you. I think the Rockets win this matchup, but there's also been a lot of discourse about the Rockets being a really kind of disjointed and unhappy team. So funny enough, I think there's more drama internally than there necessarily is like between the two teams. Would you agree with that?
Yes. Yeah, unless you want to say like a LeBron versus KD thing, but I don't think they actually have a lot of animosity towards each other. Right. It's cool. Here's my sneaky pick. LeBron has done pretty well, aside from starting the year with various old guy injuries. I feel like he has been pretty healthy, managed his minutes well towards the year where it like seems like now in the playoffs he's going to be ready to go. I think LeBron is recognizing that at least in his current iteration on this Lakers team, especially without a healthy Luka and a fully healthy Austin Reeves, who's also hurt.
Yeah.
They probably are not going to win this year. And it might not even happen. Like, where does LeBron go next year? The teams that would take him probably aren't like top contenders. So I don't know that LeBron actually has a legitimate shot of winning the title in the rest of his career, unless he's like, I'm going to go on the veteran minimum to the
Oklahoma City
or my beloved New York Knicks or whatever, stuff like that. Sorry, the 2025 NBA Cup New York Knicks.
Sure.
I think what he might do is just be like, I'm going to go Super Saiyan and I'm going to will the Lakers to beat the Rockets. And like this final late stage thing will be like a 41-year-old LeBron James without Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves willed the Lakers to beat the Rockets. And he'll just like use up the rest of the tank in the first round and just try to like stun the world and be like, I still got it. Look at me go.
Right.
Fade off into the sunset. But like his last cool thing was like, man, remember when he beat the Rockets? And everyone was hurt.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen, or at least he's going to try for that. That's I'm going to be very plugged into the first game to see how he does. But I think LeBron's going to be like, I think he's secretly like feeling real good. This is like his most dunks since like the Heatles era of LeBron. He looks great. So I think he's going to try and go all out and be like, you thought I was done, and just really try and push through.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to the Eastern Conference. We've got the first-seeded Pistons. They are going to be playing the winner of the Hornets versus whoever loses the Sixers Magic game. I think much like the West, I don't really see any of those three teams giving much of a challenge to the Pistons. The Pistons have been really extraordinary this year.
Unless the Magic somehow just wake up, because they were supposed to be really good this year and they were awful. If they just like decide to figure out how to play well as a team, maybe. And then on the flip, if the Hornets do win and the Hornets are the 8th seed and they just continue this ridiculous momentum, if I was a Pistons fan, I would be quite upset because there are some teams I fear far less that are not at a chance of playing us. But I think the Hornets have the like, what if they just catch fire? They have the number 1 and number 2 most three-pointers made this season guys on the team. So I don't think there's any drama in terms of like rosters hating each other. Like I don't think these teams have really gotten into fights with each other, but I think you've got two teams, one that has like been really hot and one that has been so cold, but they should be better. If they just put it all together and play well against the Pistons, that would be dramatic.
Next up, we have the Celtics versus whoever wins the Sixers Magic game. My feeling is that without Embiid, the Magic probably win, but also that game's being played in Philadelphia, so like who knows? The Celtics look really, really good. I don't think that either team has much of a chance there. As far as drama goes, I don't know. I mean, I don't feel like
if the Sixers win, there's more Boston Sixers hate, but I think it's really dissipated just because the Sixers haven't been good of late. I really don't see it. The only thing is like the Magic had a history of being like playing really hard and sometimes injuring people. So if the Magic play the Celtics and someone gets hurt, especially if it's Jason Tatum, then I could see that causing drama. But yeah, I don't see any like existing anticipatory beef.
Yeah. Now the 3-6 matchup is the third seeded, your beloved 2025 NBA Cup champion New York Knicks versus the Atlanta Hawks. I feel like there would have been way more drama if Trae Young were still on the Hawks, but he's not.
Yes, we would have had that. The drama is that the Hawks are similar to the Hornets in that like they've been really good ever since they traded Trae Young. So the Hawks are the 6th seed, but I think I really wanted us to play Toronto. I was not scared of the Raptors at all.
Yeah.
And the Hawks, I think it could be fun just in the sense of I'd rather us like have a hard first round and maybe we'll like really come together, like, you know, get playoff tested. I hope we still win. I think we'll still win. I feel like the Hawks have a very good team, but if Karl Anthony Towns just like realizes that there's no big person that can really defend him well on the Hawks, I think that he can really be an X factor here. And that would be cool because it's been a whole up and down year for him in terms of like, he's been playing well, but people are always blaming him for stuff and scapegoating him, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So we definitely didn't get the easiest team, but I believe in us. I think the drama will just come from mainly, it's just been a weird season for the Knicks where we were supposed to be better. Like we still did okay, but it's just, we'd have these runs where we'd like win 9 games in a row and then lose 4 in a row. And they'd be disgusting losses. Right. So I think the drama is just going to come from things on the Knicks specifically. Like, does Karl Anthony Towns look like the second best player? Is Mikal Bridges going to live up to the fact that we traded 5 first-round picks? He did last playoffs. Last playoffs, he was nuts. He was a huge reason of why we beat the Celtics. So I think there's going to be a lot of storylines. The Hawks, it's kind of like playing with house money. You know, they make the Trae Young trade and try to reshape the team for the future. And then, oh, wait, we're good right now. So I don't think there's drama there. The drama is just if the Knicks don't win.
Right. And obviously the expectations are so high for the Knicks that if any team is going to be playing tight, it's going to be the Knicks more so than the Hawks.
If we lose this, we're like firing Mike Brown, trading anyone we have to get Giannis. Like this is catastrophic if we lose in the first round.
Yeah.
If we lose to the Celtics in the second round, if they come out like, you know, it's disappointing, but you're like, look, they've had such a good year. What are you going to do? But yeah, we lose to this Hawks team. That's bad. That's
totally. The final matchup in the East is the 4th seeded Cavaliers versus the 5th seeded Raptors. To me, the Cavs are the far superior team. They haven't really proven a lot in the playoffs in recent years, but I would be shocked if the Cavs lose that series. As far as drama is concerned, once again, I feel like there's not a lot coming to mind. Maybe I'm missing something, but you got anything?
It's just if James Harden does playoff Harden again, if he again doesn't show out, I think that'll be bad. And then the drama is just if the Cavs do bad this year, I think with Donovan Mitchell's contract situation, I don't know if it ends this year. I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I've heard more rumblings than normal of if this doesn't go well, he might be like, all right, I wanted to be in a bigger market anyway. I've been nice and chilling in Cleveland because we were good. But if we're not good, I'm getting out of here. So
yeah, this feels like a big moment for the Cavs too. Like this feels like it's maybe their last shot.
They got to do
with
something.
This team. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they got to do a good showing. So we'll see.
If they lose game 1, do you think Harden will request a trade in the middle of a playoff series?
Who's to say? Who's to say? But yeah, I think the Cavs like really need it. I also think they were accused of not trying too hard down the stretch because they wanted to potentially avoid the 2-3 matchup with the Celtics. You know, they're resting lots of guys and stuff. So some people are like, are they trying to game it? And that's just like, you never want to tempt the basketball gods. Never, ever, ever with the seeding of like trying to game the system. So that's a thing to look for. But yeah, I think the Cavs, if they don't win this first round for sure, and if they're really poo-poo, if they do make it into the second round, I think the drama is just like, they found out it isn't working and Donovan's going to be displeased. And if this whole move, the Garland for Harden thing, if that doesn't work out, it's going to be a bad look because Garland's been pretty good with the Clippers and he hasn't gotten hurt. So I think it's going to be like really tough if they traded a guy who's 10 years younger and then it's like, oh, and we weren't even better this first season.
Correct. Trading for Harden is the ultimate we got to win right now move. So if it doesn't work out, they will have not only missed out on this year's chance, but probably the future as well. All right, before we wrap this up and get to the credits and whatnot, since this is the last episode that we'll be doing before the playoffs have begun. All right, I know you can't be impartial, but give me your finals matchup and prediction, and then secondarily, give me the finals matchup that would create the most drama, even if you don't think it could happen. Give me like the real prediction, and then like this would be a fun, absurd final.
Real prediction: my beloved New York Knicks lose to the Oklahoma City Thunder in 5 games.
Yep. I've got Thunder over Celtics in 6.
That is probably the safest, smartest choice, but I believe in us to make it out of the
I hope
East.
I'm wrong. I'd love to see the Knicks
The
get there.
most dramatic, I think, would be... that's tricky. Most dramatic. Most drama. I'm going to say Spurs and Pistons, just because it's the most like... They were the fun. There would be so much like fun. Oh my gosh, I can't believe they made it energy that there would be like a real good like, oh man, I'm so happy for both teams. And there would be, I think there would just be so much pressure. I think there would be a lot. I think there'd be a lot of pressure going into it just because they would both be like, oh my gosh, we're here. Oh my gosh, we're here. We're ahead of schedule. We're here. And I think that could have some drama. What about you?
I don't see either team getting there, but if somehow LeBron pulls off the miracle and keeps it going, and then they get back Luka and or Reeves, if it were like Lakers Cavs and we see LeBron going for his final championship versus Harden trying to finally get one.
Oh yeah. I think if that happens at all, even if they lose, I think LeBron retires. I don't think he plays next year because like if it's against the Cavs, come on, that's nuts. It's fun.
Yeah. Between the LeBron versus the Cavs, between LeBron versus Harden, like that would be really, really fun. It's not going to happen, but it would be so fun.
It would be very fun. Let's see. Thanks for listening to this episode of Horse. Horse is hosted by Adam Amwal and Mike Schubert. This episode was edited by Mike Schubert. The music is by Bettina Campamanes. The website's by Aurelia Lead. The art is by Alison Wakeman. And the social media is by both of the Horse Boys.
Thank you to our producer-level patrons, Polly Bird, Self-Star Testa, Siobhan Ellsbury, Don't Go Chasing Taco Falls, Bang, Bang, Roast Beef Debris, Denver Steam Nuggets, Anna Reed. Steph Curry season may or may not be over by the time you listen to this.
So bang, who's to say?
Jason Derulo, Naked Rachel, Sidney Crosby as a vampire, Chelsea's cousin, Ginger Spurs Boy, Balls to the Walls, Mats Furley, Utah Jash, and Derry Bird. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Horse Hoops and on Twitter at Horse_Hoops because...
Horse Hoops was run by the Valkyrie GM and just so tired.
She's exhausted.
So tired. So exhausted.
Her social battery is so low.
So drained, so we got to get rid of her social media account.
And you can go to our website, horsehoops.com, for links to the many things we discussed today, including the Pacers couple. Just hashing it out. Just chopping it up about liberal arts educations.
Gotta be honest.
Quick
Gotta
note,
know yourself.
before you plug the Patreon and such, Eileen says, I want to see the list you guys have for my name. As you recall, the whole running bit is that, like, in honor of our former Steph Curry patron, we're just changing it forever. I'm willing to keep it up until Steph retires. At that point, we will put it back to Steph Curry for 3, forever. But I could potentially compile that list. It would be fun to see what they all are. But anyway, tell the folks about the Patreon and such.
If you are so jealous of all these people who are in the chat watching us live, seeing our beautiful faces and getting to interact with us, that is one of the perks you can get if you go to patreon.com/horsehoops. But there's other stuff, ad-free episodes, early release episodes sometimes, bonus things, see what we were maybe going to title the episode, all this stuff. Extra streams when it's the playoffs and such. Go to patreon.com/horsehoops. You can also go to horsehoops.com/merch and get digital merch. You can get wallpapers and ringtones and all sorts of fun stuff. And that's what you can do to support us. But we are going to close out this episode by doing what we always do, which is putting our hands in the middle and saying something on the count of 3. We could do something about the playoffs, do something about the upcoming WNBA season. We could give
Once again,
belated congrats to Jordan.
I'm going to be the bigger man and a good friend. I'm going to give you a go Knicks on 3.
Love it. Let's do Go Knicks on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Go
Knicks, my beloved 2025 NBA Cup champion New York Knicks.
And a big shout out to the Bulls for making me avoid watching them in the play-in this year. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. And they fired the guys. Yay, they fired the guys. They
started firing some people. They should fire everyone, but baby
do
steps.
it. Clean house. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. Bye.